Hello, friends, and welcome to podcast number 3. I am again so grateful to have you here, and I want to say thank you very much for joining me today. So, today I want to talk to you about big life changes. And what do I mean by that? Well, big life changes. So, these can refer to something that there is a major shift or a transition that significantly impacts a person's life. So it can be things like moving to a new city or country. It can mean starting a new career or a new job, getting married or divorced, having a child or becoming a parent in some way, going back to school or pursuing further education, retiring from work or transitioning to some new phase of life, overcoming a serious illness or injury, and even changing one's lifestyle or your habits. So, think, I don't know, maybe you're quitting smoking or you're starting a fitness program. These are big life changes. Now, these changes, they can be exciting, right? They can be challenging, they can be difficult. And often they involve us somehow adjusting to new circumstances and learning new skills or behaviours. Now, while big life changes can be stressful, they can also offer us some fantastic opportunities for personal growth and development. But what I find is most of us, we get stuck and we don't know how to navigate our ways through these changes. A lot of the time, we actually don't even acknowledge that we are going through something big that may actually require us to change our behaviors or even a shift in our identity, who we are now, or even who we are going to be. And when I say we, so we, and when I say we, I mean us humans. Okay, this is not, gender specific or a certain type of person. This is us, we, the human beings. We often resist change because it takes us out of our comfort zone and it challenges us to adapt to new circumstances. But, and I know we've heard this a lot, but it is true, change is an inevitable part of life. I mean, have a look around you. No matter how old you are now, if you think about 5 years ago, you will see a change in technology. You'll see a way in which we work. You'll see a way in which we go to school. All of these things, they've changed, right? Nothing stays the same. So, learning to navigate it effectively is something we really need, right? It can actually help us grow and thrive. And it's time for us to thrive, people. So, this is the work that I do with women every day. Help them find the strengths they already have within them, because you all do. And then we build ways to help them use those strengths to thrive and to be better prepared for any future changes that come their way. And just imagine what that feels like. Imagine how empowering and the level of confidence that you would have if you believed that you were better prepared. It's not foolproof, but it does. Being prepared gives us some sense of control. And we're all in some way wanting to control the things that happen to us. Okay, so when we are looking for ways to navigate change, these are some of the things that we look at. So we would look at embracing the unknown. So change often brings uncertainty and unpredictability, which can be scary. But instead of resisting it, if we were to embrace it as an opportunity to learn and grow, approach it with an open mind and a willingness to explore new possibilities, again, imagine what that would feel like. We also look at focusing on the positive. So yes, I've said it already, change can be difficult, and I don't know too many people that will argue that. But we also have heard, and I have experienced this, I'm not sure about you, it can also bring positive outcomes. Instead of dwelling on what you might be losing or leaving behind, it's about focusing on what you might gain or what new opportunities might arise from this particular change. Another thing is taking things one step at a time. And I'm going to put my hand up. This is not easy, and I'm not here to pretend that it is. Okay, but these are the things that we can look at, and then we can assess where we're at right now and how we can improve them, and then be better prepared. So if we consider taking things one step at a time, change can feel overwhelming, right? So when we try to tackle everything all at once, this is where we get stuck. It's too much. Where do we go? What do I do? Where to start? So break it down into smaller, more manageable steps and take things one day at a time. And I am practicing this every single day. So if you do follow me on socials, you will see my daily activities of where I am trying to put this into practice. The other thing that we look at is seeking support. So change, again, can be challenging, but it's challenging to navigate it alone. We, as humans, we need to be connected to people. Some of us more than others. Some of us don't need it as much, but in some way we do crave this connection. So to do something alone, there is a feeling of a lack of support, a feeling of loneliness, not being able to share your thoughts and your feelings or your dreams and aspirations. And these are where we can really start to see some mental health troubles starting. So seek support from friends. And if it's not friends, perhaps you're lucky enough to have a family member, someone in particular that you feel can support you with this change. Maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's a psychologist or somebody like that. Or perhaps it's a coach like myself. Perhaps it's even a community group. So I know I run or organise a walking group once a week, and I know there are so many of those around. But just having really nice leisurely chats and feeling that little bit of a connection once a week can actually really help us shift how we're feeling about something that's happening in our lives. So surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you through this process. You don't necessarily have to share all of the details. It's just about having that connection, hearing other people, talking about certain things that are happening in life or in your suburb, or your actual, fitness community maybe, and feeling like they're in a similar situation to you, or maybe picking up some tips and tricks. So, and the other thing that we think about when navigating change is the practice of self-care. Now, I know this is a bit of an eye roll for some people, because straight away you jump to, well, I can't afford to go to a day spa, or I treat myself to a magazine once a week. I'm practicing self-care. I'm not talking about those sorts of things. Okay. Now, again, change can be stressful. So it's really important to take care of yourself during this transition of change, whatever the change actually is. So it is about self-care where you are eating as well as you possibly can, getting in all of the different nutrients that you need to keep your body healthy, your nervous system as comfortable and as relaxed as possible. It's about getting enough sleep. It doesn't have to be 8 hours, 10 hours. 8 hours is nice, and I know I'm at my best when I have 8, but sometimes it just won't be that. But are you getting enough? Exercising or just some really gentle movement, that is a form of self-care. And engaging in any activity that brings you joy. For some people, it is gardening and watching vegetables grow, or watching the bees buzz around all of their flowers. For some people, it's spending time with their grandchildren and playing and, teaching them how to speak new language or read a book or those sorts of things. For some people, it's art. So getting a little bit creative and getting the colored pens and the paints and things like that out. For other people, it's jigsaw puzzles. For other people, it's having lunch with that support group they have. So whatever it is that brings you joy, you don't have to be doing these things all of the time. But there should be a very healthy percentage in your day or your week that has some sort of level of self-care. Now, there might be some of you who are thinking, Frances, I actually love change. I crave change. I thrive in change. Okay, great. I also think this sometimes. But then I'll be going about my day and all of a sudden, boom, something's happened. I just wasn't expecting it. And it's not even until maybe a few days or weeks later, I realize I am resisting that particular thing. Now, I have worked in change management for years, and I am talking to you about behavior change and navigating yourself through change. I am almost 50. I too have been through many changes. And I do like most of it. And I especially like the stuff that I control, that I choose. Don't we all? But there are some things that sneak up on us and we find ourselves hit and we resist the change. And that is because our conscious mind is actually really open to change. But our unconscious mind, it doesn't like change at all. In fact, you could describe it as saying it hates change. So let's talk a little bit about conscious mind and unconscious mind. So these are two very distinct aspects of our mental functioning. So conscious mind. This is the part of our mental processes that we are aware of at any given moment. It encompasses our thoughts, perceptions, feelings, and experiences that we can actively access and engage with. It involves deliberate thinking, decision-making, voluntary actions. And when we consciously solve problems, analyze information, or engage in a conversation, we are primarily utilizing our conscious mind. It is associated with our short-term memory and it is subject to our voluntary control. So when you think of conscious mind, you can think of awareness. So this is the conscious mind allows us to be aware of ourselves, our surroundings. If you look around right now, you're obviously aware of those and your current experiences. That's your conscious mind. It also includes reasoning and logic, so it enables us to think critically, analyze situations, and make rational decisions based on our knowledge and understanding. So, all of the things that we've learned and how we interpret them, it incorporates all of those. Then there is voluntary actions. So we have control over our conscious actions and we can choose to initiate or withhold them. Then think about limited capacity. So the conscious mind has a limited capacity to process information simultaneously. Let's cut that word. Okay, it can only focus on a few things at a time. Hello, friends. Welcome to podcast number 3. I am, again, absolutely so grateful to have you here, and I want to thank you so much for joining. So, I'm getting a little bit more into the groove of this whole podcast thing. So, I hope you're enjoying where we are so far. Today, though, I want to talk to you about big life changes. So, what do I mean by that? Well, big life changes are, we can refer to them as sort of this major shift or transition, and it significantly will impact a person's life. That's a pretty broad term, but that's what it's like for a big life change. It can be just about anything. It could be things like moving to a new city or country, starting a new job or career, getting married or even divorced, having a child or becoming a parent in some way, going back to school or pursuing further education, maybe even retiring from work or transitioning into a new phase of life, overcoming a serious injury or illness, or even changing your lifestyle or habits. So, if you are quitting smoking or you're starting a new fitness program, that's a big life change. So, these types of changes, they can be exciting and they can be challenging. They can even be difficult and often involve adjusting to a new circumstance and even learning new skills or behaviors. While big life changes can be stressful, they can also offer us some fabulous opportunities for personal growth and development. But what I find is most of us get stuck. We get stuck and we don't know how to navigate our ways through these changes. A lot of the time, we actually don't even acknowledge that we're going through something big that may require a change in our behaviors or even a shift in our identity, who we are, or even who we are going to be. We, and I say we, I mean us humans. This is not gender specific, it is not a type of person, it is humans. We often resist change because it takes us out of our comfort zone and it challenges us to adapt to new circumstances. But change is an inevitable part of life. I know. We're hearing it all of the time. We even resist, you're probably eye rolling as I say it, but it's true. Have a look around. Have a look around at the environment that you're in right now and the technology that you're using right now and the wearables that you're wearing. Things change, life changes, stuff changes. No matter whether you're at school, out of school, if you were to think 5 years ago compared to now, the way we work has changed, the way we go to school has changed, the type of cars we're driving have changed. Nothing stays the same. So learning to navigate change effectively, think about how life-changing that is. It can actually help us grow and it can help us thrive. And this is the work that I do with women every day. I help them find the strengths that they've already got within them. And these strengths are new to them. They don't know that they've got them. So there's a shift, there's a change. And then we build ways to help them actually use those amazing strengths to thrive and to be better prepared as you can be for any future changes that come their way. So it's not even just about the one change that they're going through right now. This is the powerful thing about change. I've just talked about it. It doesn't stop. And the change that you may be experiencing right now will have impacts. It will have impacts on yourself, your identity, your way of life, and it will have them on the people around you as well. So the change is constant. And so that's the work I do every single day. So the things that we're looking at for ways to navigate change, right? We're always sort of talking about these things. So what are the things that I would look at? Well, it includes things like embracing the unknown. So change often brings a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability, which as humans, we find scary. But instead of us resisting it, if we embrace it as an opportunity to learn and grow, approach it with an open mind and a willingness to explore new possibilities, just imagine how that would look and feel for you. And if you want to take a moment to close your eyes right now and think about how that looks and feels, to be able to approach it with an open mind and a willingness to explore what this change does for me, not what it's forcing me to do. Okay, so the other thing that we would look at is focusing on the positive. Change, yes, it can be difficult, but it can also, like I've said, bring really positive outcomes. So instead of dwelling on what you might be losing or leaving behind, it's now about focusing on what you might gain or what new opportunities might actually arise. Also, let's look at then taking things one step at a time. And this I am practicing every single day. I get how difficult this one is. If you're watching me on socials, you will see some of my daily stories. And it's ultimately just me navigating through the changes I'm going through and how I'm practicing to take one step at a time. So what happens is it's overwhelming, right? We try to tackle everything all at once because with a change, a big life change, there are lots of things that are impacted. And so we try and tackle it all at once. Think about when you start a new fitness program, and it usually comes with a diet as well. You're all in, right? You're trying to do it all. You're cutting your carbs and you're tracking your food, and then you're exercising every single day, and you've started at zero. So you've gone all in. And it's overwhelming. Your body freaks out. You become exhausted. It becomes too hard. So break it down into smaller, more manageable steps, and then take things one day at a time. Some of the things, phrases or terms that we're hearing a lot more of lately, and I'm not sure that people are really, really making the most of this, but it's the 1%. It's the 1% change or 1% shift every day. And if you think about how much that compounds over a year, that's a lot. And that's a lot of progress. And so it's a similar sort of theory here. And then we also look at seeking support. Now, you may not believe this. And again, I think I may be getting some eye rolling, or maybe you've stopped listening. I hope you're still there. But with humans, we do crave connection. We are looking to be accepted. I think in my first episode, I talked about fear, and I talked about one of the fears that we have is not being accepted, not being part of a group of people. It might be family, it might be a connection of a particular type of group, or we might want to refer to it as our tribe, but we crave connection. We're looking for acceptance all of the time. And that's because humans are meant to be with other humans. Now, some of us need more of that and some need less, and that's okay. You are unique and you will need a unique amount to that. But you will still, in some way, feel better if you have a support group. So it may be seeking support from friends, it might be family, it might be a therapist, or it might be a coach like myself. So you need to find the right support for you. And how do you know if they are the right support? Well, these people will uplift and they will encourage you through the process. They will not try and hide the difficulties, but they will support you. Okay, they will keep you as uplifted as possible, but they will keep you on track because you have said you want this change, you are accepting this change, and they want you to thrive. They are your support people. And then there is one more thing we think about when navigating change, and it is practicing self-care. Yes. Now, what do you think about when you hear self-care? Is it day spas? Is it getting your hair done? Is it getting your nails done? I don't know. What is it for you? It doesn't have to be those things. So I get a lot of resistance from people here. They go, I don't have time for self-care. I can't afford self-care. Now, this is a belief and it is holding you back and keeping you stuck. And it would be one of the things that you and I would be working on if that is something that you just thought about. Self-care is so important because it is about putting yourself first. It is about eating nutritious food, getting all of the nutrients you possibly can to keep your body feeling safe and happy and regulated. It is about getting enough sleep. Some days will be more than others, depending on your levels of stress. But are you getting enough good quality sleep? It is about movement. Now, for some, they require that real adrenaline rush and that hard, heavy type of exercise. And for others, it's gentle flow, stretching, but it's moving. And that gets all of our good hormones moving about and things shifting. And our body starts to think, oh, good things are possible here. And we need that when we're going through some change. So it's engaging in activities that bring you joy, that can help you clear your mind, and that look after this amazing body that you've been given. Okay, there are probably some of you who are thinking, Frances, this, sure, that might be right for some, but I actually love and thrive change. In fact, I seek it out. Okay, great. I am like that too sometimes. I believe most of the time I'm pretty good with change. But then something happens that I wasn't expecting, and boom, I find myself resisting it. And it might be a day later, it might be a week later, or it might be a few months, and something happens, and I go, oh my God, what the hell have I been doing? I have been resisting the one thing that I actually think I really need. And I actually think I asked for it. What am I doing? So I too find myself resisting it. It happens. And that is because our conscious mind is open to change, but our unconscious mind is not. It doesn't like change at all. You could probably say it hates it, which is pretty strong, but it definitely does not like change. So let's talk a little bit about our conscious mind and our unconscious mind. These are two distinct aspects of our mental functioning. And so when we are wanting to navigate our way through life, all the ups and downs, and thrive during all of them, we've got to start to understand what it is that's happening. When we can understand it, we can feel a little bit better about it. We can potentially even start to take a little bit of control back. So, our conscious mind, it is the part of our mental processing that we are aware of at any given moment. It encompasses our thoughts, our perceptions, our feelings, and our experiences that we can actively access and engage with. It involves deliberate thinking, decision making, and voluntary actions. And when we consciously solve problems and analyze information or engage in a conversation, we are primarily utilizing our conscious mind. It is associated with our short term memory and it is subject to our voluntary control. Some of the key features or things that might make sense to you regarding the conscious mind are awareness. So the conscious mind allows us to be aware of ourselves, our surroundings, and our current experiences. So if you were to be sitting somewhere comfortable right now, you'll notice you notice your bottom and your tailbone and your hamstrings and those sorts of things. You can feel them against the seat of the chair. You can feel the chair. You can smell. I don't know if you've got a candle burning or whatever it is. You might be cooking some really great food right now and you can smell that. So your surroundings and your current experiences, your awareness, that happens in your conscious mind. Then there's reasoning and logic, and that enables us to think critically, analyze situations, and make rational decisions based on the knowledge that we have and how we understand that information. Okay, then there's our voluntary actions. So we have control over our conscious actions and we can choose to initiate or withhold them. Now, this is where intention comes in. If you are actually using it in a conscious way and doing something with intention to expect to experience something, you're aware of it and it's a voluntary action. Okay. Limited capacity is another thing that you might resonate when you're thinking about conscious mind. We have a limited capacity to process information, and it can only focus on a few things at a time. So that whole multitasking thing, it doesn't really work. Not well. All right, let's talk about unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind refers to the part of our mental processes that operates outside of our conscious awareness. So it consists of thoughts, memories, our emotions are in there, our desires, and any other mental content that are not immediately accessible to our conscious awareness, but still influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So we're not as aware of it, and we can't immediately sort of pull on this information. It's something that we really have to teach ourselves to be able to do. The unconscious mind plays a really significant role in shaping our personality, our motivations, and our overall kind of mental functioning. It's got a really big part to play. And yet, we are so, it's so difficult for us to access it when we want it. Okay, so you might sort of resonate with these things. So it's called automatic processes. So many mental processes, such as our breathing and heart rate regulation and reflex actions, they're all controlled by this unconscious mind without requiring conscious intervention. They just kind of happen. Okay. Then there's our memory storage. So the unconscious mind stores long-term memories and experiences that may not be consciously accessible, but they can actually influence our behavior and emotions. Like that blows my mind to know that there's so much going on there that we can't necessarily access or not access easily, but it has such a big influence over how we behave. Then there's emotions and desires. So these are in our unconscious mind and they influence our motivations and often underlying our conscious thoughts and actions. Okay, then there's what they call symbolic processing. The unconscious mind tends to work in this symbolic and metaphorical manner, using dreams, fantasies, and imagery to process and express underlying thoughts and emotions. And this is why mood boards or vision boards are recommended or used by some people, because it's a way of sort of pulling at that symbolic processing. Then we've got subconscious processing. So this is the unconscious mind that's continuously processing vast amounts of information or vast amounts of sensory information and then prior knowledge, and it contributes to our intuition a little bit and our implicit learning. So it's important to note that while the conscious and unconscious mind can operate independently, they also interact and influence each other strongly in a very huge way. So our unconscious mind is actually the one that's resisting change, and this can be for a few reasons. The unconscious mind is accustomed to certain patterns of behavior, thoughts, and beliefs that have been deeply ingrained over time. So it prefers the familiar because it feels safe and predictable. And a lot of the things I see people sharing on social media and in conversations is they don't want safe, they don't want predictable, but yet their mind and their body does crave that. So that can feel really confusing and again help us get stuck. So when we introduce change, it disrupts this established pattern and it can evoke, discomfort or anxiety. Then there's the fear of the unknown. So change often involves stepping into that uncertain territory, which can trigger fear and uncertainty. The unconscious mind seeks to maintain a sense of control and security, and unfamiliar situations may actually be perceived as potential threats. Okay, that's just, it was created this way to protect us. So it's doing its job. It's trying to protect us from a perceived danger because it's shifting things. That's not normal. That's not the pattern that we're used to. It is trying to do something good for us, and sometimes that is necessary. But what we can learn to do is pay attention to that and learn to question it. Okay. Then there's what they call self preservation and ego protection. So, our unconscious mind houses our self image and our ego, which strive to maintain a consistent identity. Change challenges our existing self concept or potentially threatening our ego's sense of worth or its existence. And the unconscious mind then may resist change to safeguard us from, again, a potential damage or vulnerability. So it's trying to, again, protect us from a threat. So again, it's see the power of understanding these things. We start to see, I understand now what it's trying to do. Let me sit here and explain to it or show it that it's actually safe, it's okay. I'm going to take this slowly. It can also resist change because of any emotional attachments or conditioning that we have. So our unconscious mind can become emotionally attached to certain people, places, routines, or beliefs. And these attachments are formed through conditioning and past experiences. Now, we've been conditioned for a very long time, depending on how old you are. But it starts early and not to necessarily be done for any negative reason, but it does happen. Okay. And any parents out there, you're conditioning your children. Now, you may be doing that with intention, and that's great, but sometimes, and most of the time, we're not. So, when we then want to change and disrupt these emotional attachments or conditioning, it leads to resistance because, again, the unconscious mind wants to cling to what's familiar and comforting to us, emotionally comforting. So, again, it's just trying to protect us. It's there for a reason. And then you may have heard of cognitive bias or confirmation bias. So, this is the unconscious mind being influenced by various cognitive biases, including, confirmation bias. It seeks to confirm existing beliefs and filter out contradictory information. Now, change will often challenge our preconceived notions and thoughts and beliefs. And the unconscious mind may selectively perceive and interpret information to then support existing beliefs, leading to resistance against anything that disrupts that. It's amazing what our bodies and our minds do. The unconscious mind can also sort of put in these defense mechanisms to protect itself from discomfort, psychological discomfort or conflicts. So there's denial, there's rationalization, it represses things. These sorts of things can happen when we're faced with change. And again, it's as a way to avoid acknowledging or dealing with the underlying changes or emotions. It's a lot, right? So, to help our unconscious mind deal with change more effectively, there are some things we can do. Whew, right, great. We can take some control here. There are strategies that we can implement to help. Awareness and mindfulness. It's top of my list. So, developing that self awareness, it's crucial to understand our own resistance to change. And as I said earlier, when we understand, when we have a level of understanding and information, that is power, right? And that helps us to say, okay, all right, I understand what's going on here. Thanks, subconscious mind, for jumping in and trying to protect me. But I'm now going to talk you through and show you that I'm okay. So, practicing mindfulness to observe your thoughts or emotions, and maybe any sensations that your body gives you, and doing it without judgment, just questioning, just looking, investigating. By being present in the moment, you can identify and start to acknowledge any resistance or discomfort that arises. And so that is a great strategy for us when we are navigating change or learning to prepare ourselves and become more resilient to change. Number 2 on my list, identify and challenge beliefs. So I'm interested, do you know all of the beliefs that you have? Of course, most of us don't, because they're sitting there in our unconscious mind. They've come up at some stage, and then there's been something that has shown our unconscious mind that that is a regular pattern, that is proof, that is factual, even if it's not. So we're not always aware of these beliefs. Something will come up, a particular change will come up at a certain time in your life, and you'll be hit with this belief, whatever it is. So try and now explore the beliefs and assumptions that might be underlying your resistance to change. Are there any limiting beliefs or fears that are holding you back? And question the validity of those beliefs and consider alternative perspectives. So, is there really any evidence supporting that particular belief? Is there any proof to say that that is correct and accurate? Number 3 on my list is very gradual exposure and very small steps. So introduce change gradually if you can and in a manageable kind of increment, right? In that 1%. Break down any larger changes into smaller, more achievable steps. What this does is it allows your unconscious mind to adapt and gradually reduce the sense of overwhelm and resistance. Your unconscious mind starts to learn a new pattern, and it will be less resistant to the change. All right, number 4, positive visualization. Visualize the positive outcome and the benefits that can arise from embracing change. And I actually sometimes start when I'm getting a new client and we're talking through what's happening for them right now. This sometimes is where we actually start. Visualize the positive outcomes and benefits. How do you want it to look? How do you want it to feel? And then we can kind of reverse engineer it and work backwards. And we can show small steps that you can do daily that will help with that. So, like I mentioned before, mood boards or vision boards are sometimes used. So when we engage in sort of positive imagery, it helps reprogram the unconscious mind. And then it starts to associate change with positive experiences and outcomes. And so again, it makes it more receptive to the process. And it feels easier. You start to get in that flow that we all dream about. And last one I'm going to give you today is seek support and guidance. So reach out to that supportive individual that you have or group of people. It can, again, be friends, family, a mentor, someone who can provide guidance, encouragement, and perspective during these times of change. Not judgment, not criticism, not advice. And there are a difference in those. So consider working with either a therapist or a coach who can help you navigate through the challenges and uncover underlying unconscious resistance. Now, therapists and coaches, they do have different roles to play. Maybe I'll do a podcast on this one day. Let me know if that would be of interest to you. But definitely, have a look, have a talk. Most coaches will give you what we call a discovery call, an opportunity to talk to us, to see if you think we're the right person for you. And we will talk through a little bit of the process, which can be unique to each person, but we can give you an outline of what that sort of looks like so you know what you'd be experiencing. And then you can again start to slowly see how your unconscious mind feels about that. All right. Look, there are so many other things that I can give you in terms of tips, but I'm aware that this has been a long and heavy episode. I hope you're still with me. So what I might do is I will call it there for a day. It's been a lot, hasn't it? I don't know how it got so heavy. But anyway, that was where my thoughts have been leading lately. I have definitely been reflecting on my most recent life change. And again, if you'd like to know any more about that, you can either listen to my very first podcast, the Start Here episode, or you can follow me on socials. I'd love to see you there. Make sure you drop into the DMs and say hi and let me know that you came through the podcast. You found me through the podcast. If you would like to have a chat, you can contact me and reach out for a chat. I love to talk. All right. Look, if there has been something that's resonated for you today or really sparked an interest, I would love to know. So again, please reach out. Let me know. I'd love to hear. Remember, change is a gradual process and everyone's journey is going to be unique. You are unique. And of course, then your journey will be. And that is amazing. We have a lot of beliefs and conditioning, and that's built up over time. So when we're leaning into change that is happening in your life, it is so important for you to be patient and persistent and compassionate. You can become more adaptable and you can become more receptive to change. And if you would like some help guiding you, supporting you, and building a plan, and then some actions that are as unique as you are to get you through that change, then please reach out. I would love to hear from you. Talk soon.